Welcome to the facet 2 of Genius Inside. Oh my God, you made it so far. That is congratulations. You are seriously committed to unleashing your genius. And you know what? You've realized that by now. It's not just a personal responsibility. It is a very big and very tough responsibility. So I want to start this facet of personal mastery with emotional intelligence. You know, there are so many geniuses, so many legendary people that you have seen who have changed the world with their purpose, with their contribution, but they suffered personally. And that for me is not very exciting to follow. You know, when you talk about suffering, when you talk about loneliness, when you talk about self-abasement, and you hear of what are the things that they went through while the world was benefiting, it's not very encouraging and inviting. That a lot of people think meri life achhi hai, koi baat nahi. At least I don't have such magnitude of problems. And you know what? You have learned this by now, that it's all self-created, that all I have to do is change myself and the world will come together. And therefore, this facet after purpose is dedicated to personal mastery. This week, we are going to take a step toward emotional intelligence. I want to start with two quotes that I really love. One is by Gary Zukav. It says, "The first step towards spiritual growth is to become aware of your emotions." And the second one is by Deepak Chopra. When emotional intelligence merges with spiritual intelligence, the human race is transformed. See, emotions is a part of human experience. It is a part of us being human beings. See, as human beings, we are living creatures, we are animals, and we've had a very rich lineage of evolution. But you know what? We have evolved beyond our animal instincts, which no other living creature has been able to do. And the one trait that separates us from every other living species till date is our ability to think, is our ability to express, is our ability to emote. There is no other species. I mean, I think dogs come close, but beyond that, there is no other species that can think or evaluate beyond survival. And therefore, emotions hint towards spiritual evolution. Now, when you look at other living creatures, you know, their thinking is limited or confined to survival. It's a fight or flight, it's live or die, it's comfort or pain. Beyond that, you really don't see an expression. And we are a part of this planet, a part of the living species, and we have what no other species has, is the spiritual endowment, the ability to think, to create, to imagine, to make decisions, to have the possibility of choices, and to create our own path beyond what is available to us in the environment. And in that, we are creators. There is no other species that is a creator, that have done beyond what their limited ability has allowed them to do. See, every human being is different. I mean, look at the creation around you. It's phenomenal. It originated from somebody's mind, a reality that never existed. Other species, yes, they also create. A bird creates a nest, etc. But then that's for everybody. We're doing things which are special. We are doing things which have never been done before. And that thought is privileged to the human race, which is spiritually evolved. And therefore, I love what Deepak Chopra says. Emotion is a spiritual endowment. So what is this emotional intelligence? You know, when people say, oh, I'm very emotional, we take it in a negative connotation. And I tell you, when people say I'm emotional, what they're confessing to is that I'm aware, I feel, I pick up things, and it affects me. Okay. And we are participants in life, which means as much as I aspire to be cause, I aspire to be a creator, I am also an effect of your creation, of your ideas, isn't it? it? When you share something with me, when you do something, it impacts me. I can't expect that only I should be cause, I should be the creator and you should be impacted. Okay, so we live in a dual give and take of emotional responses. And when people say I'm not emotional at all, which also means that they're not self-aware, because how is it possible that you participate in an experience and you are not moved and touched and affected and impacted by it? How is it possible? It just means that there is a lot of resistance, there is low self-awareness, and there is low empathy for others, for yourself, and for the environment. So that clears it. Everybody is emotional. But yes, are you positively inclined or negatively inclined? Let's look at that. So I'll put up a whole positive chart. Of course, there are many, but for the sake of time, and you can Google it and you can add all the positive emotions that you feel need to go into your list. So let's say the highest, okay, and you can have your own graph of highest. Who says you have to follow mine? Let's say the highest is peace, is calm, is happiness, joy, love, feeling of being appreciated, feeling of creativity, action oriented. While these are also verbs, these are also nouns, you can also exchange them for feelings. Sometimes people say, I feel lethargic. So as much as it is a manifested reality, it starts with the feeling, right? Enthusiasm, cheerfulness, interested, surprise, confident, powerful, hope, and the list can go on. So when somebody says I am emotional, or when you say I am emotional, clarify. I am emotional with a positive bent, which means that is my dominant state. That is how I feel most of the time. Not all of the time, most of the time. And if you bring me a challenging situation, if you bring me a troublesome situation, if you bring me a depressed situation, I will sprinkle some positivity there. Why? Because that's how I generally feel. And you know what? Feeling is a vibration. Emotion is a vibration. I will cover that a little later. And energy can never be destroyed. It is always transferred, and it levels and evens out. So you will see that people who are positive, who have this bright outlook toward life, they bring some degree of upliftment even in negative situations. So when you say I'm emotional, clarify. I am emotional with a positive bent. Then there are negative emotions, and you can make your own chart. So for me, on top is dead. I feel dead. I feel I have no life. Okay, that is what I mean by feeling, and I have put it as the word dead. Lethargy, finished. I feel I'm finished. Sorrow, despair, sadness, guilt, regret, cheated, betrayal, lonely, inconfident, powerless, anger, criticism, and the list can be as big as you have experienced it firsthand or from others. So coming back to it again, when somebody's saying I'm emotional, ask them with a positive bent or negative bent. Because you know what? People who have a dominant negative emotional state, they will turn even a positive situation, even celebration, into so what? So isme kya badi baat ho gayi? You won 42 awards? Okay, so what? They have this whole feeling of negativity, of criticism, of unhappiness, of taking life for granted, or not being surprised, or not being supportive, or not being appreciative, and so on. So your first task starting this week would be to make your list of the positive emotions and negative emotions and get a little honest straight. Make that meter which starts from 0 to 100 and see where you balance out. And by now, I don't have to repeat and tell you that get honest and straight, because you see, you've realized this, that the only way forward to unleashing your potential is self-improvement. So now you rate yourself. Where do you stand? It could be 50-50. It could be I am negative sometimes and positive sometimes. Okay, no problem. It could be I'm positive most of the time. It could be I'm negative most of the time. Okay, whatever it is, give yourself a rating. You want, you send it to me, or if you want, you keep it in your playbook. Okay, and now let us see how we turn the meter toward majority, to your dominant emotional state being positive. Now let's say that you're very, very positive. That's wonderful. That's great. Now let's empower it. Now let's make it conscious so that life doesn't beat you to be negative. Don't you know of so many people who were so bright and so happy, and now look at them, so sad. I mean, you know that movie, which one was that? Yeah, Jab We Met. In that, Kareena Kapoor was this really bubbly woman, and then life beats her up and she becomes so negative and so sad, right? So protect yourself. This is your future insurance, that you know that you are self-aware, that you are a positive person. You know how you became that, and you know how to retain it, and you know how to protect it should the world turn on the dark side. And if you have found yourself to be overly negative, you can come to the positive. Now, for that, it is going to take practice. Mere dabbling is not going to help. You've understood that by now, that I have really put a lot of serious emphasis on the playbooks. It's like when you go to the gym to build muscle, you can't do it in 2 weeks, you can't do it in 3 weeks. You can't just dabble, go sometime, not go sometime. You have to put religious practice. And you know what? You know that the muscle will develop when it rips and it hurts. You know, that change for the better, temporarily it will hurt, because it needs to break up to reform. And once it reforms, it's reformed for life. Haven't you seen, people, especially in the army, the regular gym goers, even if later on in life they quit, through their shape, through their face cut, through the way their body is now formed, you can tell that this guy was an athlete, or this guy, participated in a lot of physical activity. So it stays for life. And that's what we're attempting to do. So the first exercise is to take the list that you have made of positive emotions and now write down, how do you get to that? How does that feeling emerge from you? So let's say, for example, I have written calm. How do I get to the feeling or the state of calm? Let's say somebody could write meditation. I write listening to music, or running, or walking, or driving. Now against calm, write all of these things. Let's say happiness. So what leads me to the feeling of happiness? Spending time with my dogs, spending time with any dog, my mother, a painting, playing the guitar, reading a book makes me happy. All right. So like this, you take all the emotions and against it write what must happen that you do or is done or you create or is offered to you that brings out the feeling, the positive ones that you have written. So that way I know when I go back to it that, hey, if I want to feel happy, hey, just pick up a book and read. Just go play with your dogs, call mom. That's it. You have to be aware of how to put yourself back, how to immerse yourself in a feeling that brings out the best in you. Otherwise, when your heart is hit and you say, I'm unhappy, hey, you have the tool to jump right back. And you know what? It's so simple. And sometimes, when I feel a little low, I go on Instagram and I do the hashtag cute puppies. And that's it. In 5 minutes, I am back into my positive, enthusiastic self. And let me tell you, when you touch upon or when you immerse or when you are in that vibration of a positive feeling, it's a domino effect. Okay, so happiness will make you calm, it will make you wonder, it will make you cooperative, it will make you appreciative. It's like, one feeling will lead you to so much more. An angry person, a negative, angry emotion will lead you to criticism, will lead you to violence, will lead you to guilt, will lead you to regret. And it started with anger. So don't underestimate the power that you're building within yourself. Emotional intelligence, first let's get to the emotional part, then let's use it intelligently. So now, needless to say, you now chart out the negative. Let's say sad, angry. What is it that makes you sad? What is it that makes you angry? What is it that makes you depressed? Write those points. And after you write those points, guess what? We're going to see how to avoid them or deal with them if they exist prominently in your life. Okay, I don't want to discuss that because I'm a very emotional person with a positive bent. Okay, but you can write down. I also wrote down that I picked up a negative emotion and I wrote against it what must happen to put me in that state. And then what you're going to do every day is to practice one positive emotion at least. Okay, so for example, I know that running or going for a walk makes me feel calm. That's how I will start my day. Or if joy is listening to music, that's how I will start my day. Start my day, not at some point in the day. Because you know what? Once your tuning is set, it goes on a domino effect in the day. Otherwise, there is enough setup of negative influence to unnecessarily bring out the negative emotion from you. And you know what? When you're in a state of calm and joy and happiness every single day, so all it takes for me, when I write down my list of positive emotions, walk, play with your dog, speak to mom, and I am set. Okay, when our internal emotion is set, it forms our response to the world. So imagine a person who's very negative walks into the house and here's in the kitchen the house help breaks a plate. Now he goes there and says, what is this? How careless are you? You know how expensive this was, and so on. Okay, because it's from a negative place and very quickly evoked anger, which went into violence, which went into loud accusations, which went into criticism, even abuses. And now a positive person hears a plate smashed in the kitchen, comes and asks, are you hurt? You see the difference of response? Same experience, same event, but different responses based on your own emotional endowment. Let me tell you this upfront. I'm a believer that life is beautiful, and they say beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And if you go a little deeper, beauty lies and emerges from your emotional state. So as much as life is beautiful, I tell you, some people will sign off their name with the guarantee that life is a curse and a suffering. What is your meter, positive or negative? What is your mental setup? What is your emotional setup, positive or negative? That will define how you look at the world. You've come here so far. We're into month 2, and what we're going to do is tip the scales into beauty. If you already were a positive person, oh my God, you're going to become the epitome of positivity. That your mere presence will bring cheer, will bring goodness, will bring calm in your environment. And if you're on the negative side a little bit also, let's tip the scales and make a beautiful world for you. Chalo, take out the playbook and let's get started.